For decades, we have defined ecological success through checklists, the number of trees planted, or the presence of a few high-profile species. These metrics track the visible symptoms of recovery. They fail to account for the underlying trophic engines that determine whether an ecosystem can actually sustain itself. A wetland can look vibrant and green while remaining functionally stagnant. Without active energy flow and nutrient cycling, the system is essentially on life support. Emerging biodiversity markets, such as Australia's nature repair market, are moving toward a stricter standard. Projects must now provide auditable proof of ecosystem resilience. Verifying that resilience requires a shift in focus. We have to look past isolated species counts and begin quantifying the complete functional ecological network. Scientists have developed a new analytical framework specifically to model the complex interactions of temperate Australian freshwater wetlands. This model incorporates 40 functional group nodes and over 230 directed interactions, capturing the density of a real system rather than a simplified abstraction. These connections represent more than simple diets. They track how habitat support, organic matter decomposition, and reproduction pathways intersect across landscapes. To make this complexity useful for restoration, researchers developed the Keystone Repair Index, or KRI. This metric identifies the specific groups that provide the highest leverage for ecosystem repair. By mathematically isolating these critical points, we can determine where a single restoration action will have the greatest impact on the entire system's survival. The framework organizes the wetland into 40 distinct nodes, allowing us to track how energy moves through different levels simultaneously. At the base are foundation nodes, like submerged macrophytes and riparian vegetation. These are the physical builders of the ecosystem. Earlier models often treated all small aquatic insects as a single generic category. This simplified the math, but obscured how energy actually crosses into the higher food web. This new model disaggregates macroinvertebrates into 8 distinct feeding guilds, separating shredders, filterers, and predators based on their specific ecological roles. The data shows that these 8 guilds form a vital connector complex. They are the primary bridge for transferring energy from basal resources up to larger fish and birds. If this connector complex is broken, the energy produced by foundation plants cannot reach the rest of the web. Without these guilds, the system becomes a bottleneck, where energy remains trapped at the bottom. Most environmental assessments treat all dead organic matter as the same generic pool of detritus. In reality, there is a sharp distinction between standard plant litter and the highly concentrated nutrient pulses found in animal carrion. Environmental stressors like extreme heat or low oxygen levels can trigger massive, sudden mortality events, flooding the wetland with carrion. If the system lacks capacity to process this influx, water quality quickly degrades, creating a feedback loop that leads to total ecosystem collapse. Modeling the carrion pool as a distinct node reveals that scavenging is a primary ecosystem service. Effective scavengers rapidly intercept this toxic pulse, recycling it back into usable energy before it can compromise the water column. A wetland's resilience to climate-driven fish kills is governed by its functional scavenging capacity. The Keystone Repair Index uses this network data to rank the 40 nodes by their restoration value. The score is calculated by weighing 3 factors: ecological centrality within the network, the delivery of ecosystem services, and the practical feasibility of monitoring. After simulating these variables 1,000 times to account for uncertainty, a very clear set of priority ecological groups emerges. Freshwater turtles consistently rank as the second most important restoration target in the entire wetland system. Their high rank is driven by their role as a nexus. They are the ecosystem's primary scavengers, preventing nutrient-driven water quality disasters. They also score highly on implementation. Turtles are visible, recognizable, and their presence can be monitored efficiently to verify market compliance. This makes them a functional flagship, a species whose long-term health depends on the simultaneous recovery of habitat, water quality, and food web connectivity. To understand the full picture, the model also incorporates suppressor nodes, factors that actively degrade the network. These include physical threats like road infrastructure and biological ones like invasive cats and foxes. These suppressors do their most significant damage by targeting reproduction pathways. This creates a recruitment trap. Because adult turtles can live for decades, their presence can mask a total population collapse. If predators consume every single nest, the entire network is ultimately severed at the source of its next generation. In this functional model, reducing a threat like nest predation earns the same weight as physically building new habitat. Both are required to restore the connection. The Keystone Repair Index is a heuristic for decision-making. It is not the credit that gets traded on a market. Its value lies in generating the auditable methodologies used to verify that a nature repair project has actually succeeded. The network analysis translates into 7 measurable recovery domains. These provide a roadmap for fieldwork and verification. For example, scavenging capacity can be verified through standardized carcass removal trials, turning an abstract ecological role into a measurable data point. Threat reduction can be monitored using predator camera trap indices to prove that the recruitment pathways for species like turtles are being actively protected. Any legitimate biodiversity certificate must demonstrate empirical recovery across these interacting domains, rather than relying on a single visual proxy. Effective nature requires us to look past the boundaries of a landscape and understand the engine underneath. Lasting restoration means rebuilding the thermodynamic flows, the trophic bridges, and the scavenging loops that define a resilient system. We now have the modeling tools to quantify this complexity and move beyond simplistic ecological checklists. The future of biodiversity markets depends on our ability to measure and value the pulse of the complete ecological network.